Okay, looks like we have all of the speakers joining. Look at that. Hi, Jason. Nice to see you. Jason, Stuti, Sarah, and our moderator, Sai Pendergast. I would just like to start off by welcoming everybody here to Startup Boston Week. If you're logging in for the first time, it's great to have you. If you're logging back in, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's sessions. I'm going to put on a little slide so you can see what's playing right now. My name is Justin Bork. I'm one of the organizers of the event. Right now, you're in the session Long-Term Relationships, Achieving and Sustaining the Success of Your Clients and Customers. We also have some other events that are going on at the exact same time. So if you didn't mean to go into this session, or if you want to float back and forth, all you have to do is go to the top, click Agenda, and you can see the other events that are happening at the exact same time and just kind of float back and forth as you like. I will give a quick reminder that we love questions and answers. We love Q&A. That's kind of one of the big reasons why we're doing this. And everybody here is here to answer your questions. So if you have any questions, write them in at any time and we will address them. You can see at the top right, there's a little section that says Q&A. That is your queue. That's where you can type in anything. I'll be here. Our moderator, Sai Pendergast, will be here to make sure that your questions are noticed and addressed. The only other thing I'll mention for housekeeping before we begin the session is that we have a social media competition floating around. So the short rules of it are that you're going to want to pay attention to everything the speakers are saying. And if you have a quote that you really like, we encourage you to put that on social media with the hashtag SBW2021. Again, SBW, Startup Boston Week 2021. And then once you do that, you'll be entered to win one of 5 $100 gift cards to a Black-owned business in Boston. So that's a really cool thing that we're doing right now. With that said, I'd love to turn it away to our moderator, Sai Pendergast, our illustrious moderator. Sai, take it from here.
Awesome. Thanks, Justin. So excited to be talking to you all today. Really diving into customer success, what makes customer relationships and our world go round, honestly. So to kick things off, I would love to get some intros from our wonderful speakers today. Sarah, maybe you could kick it off and just share a little bit about your current role, really where you live in the customer experience world, and a little bit about your history. Getting here and, what makes your day-to-day.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Avalar, and I'm with the customer success team at Jobble, where we're kind of a marketplace for gig work where customers, businesses are connected with users. Much of my time now is spent working on the processes and tools for our internal customer success team to help make everything from communications with the customer and the user better and help improve the process along the line. I kind of came from the trade show industry prior to this as an account manager. Which was definitely an interesting experience at all times. And I think it was definitely a good transition to the startup world. Yeah.
Awesome. Great intro. Thank you. Jason, do you want to go next?
For sure. So first off, happy to be here. I'm Jason Mercer, based in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm currently at FlockJ as a partnership manager, customer-facing role where I handle full sales cycle and also post-sales cycle as far as client relationships and long-term relationships themselves. My background has been primarily in sales. Worked at many startups across the Boston tech scene, such as Drift, Lola, so on and so forth, and just have a lot of insight and hopefully advice around managing said long-term relationships, not only from a closing role, but again, also just a human-to-human connection.
Perfect. And Stuti, last but not least.
Thank you, Sai. Hi, everyone. Really excited to be here. My name is Stuti Bhargav. I am the VP of Customer Success at Immersive Labs. Immersive Labs, for those who don't know, really helps bring cybersecurity into everybody's day-to-day. It's about upskilling the entire workforce because, as we know, cybersecurity is not just about some geek in the basement. It's about every one of us. And so Immersive Labs helps you stay updated with everything that's going on. And I've been doing this for a little while. My passion is about really creating what this customer success organization for startups and really being the customer advocate internally and the voice of the customer to the leadership team.
Wow. Awesome. Thank you. Great intro starting off. So I know we're going to have an awesome conversation. My name is Sai Pendergast. I'm moderating. My role coming into customer success has definitely been similar to Jason's. I started out in sales with consumer goods and moved into WeWork and then cybersecurity. Found out that I love customers and I love the day-to-day of helping them out and really, just like Studi just said, being on their side, being their voice, and really fighting to win over that long-term relationship. So I now work for Goldcast, the platform that we're on, hoping everyone's loving it. That's my one plug for the day. Also message me if you have issues. But to start off, and Jason, I think we'll start with you for this question, but just really what cemented your understanding and kind of that aha moment that you wanted to work in customer success day to day? I know you mentioned you have a closing role, and I guess I'll have everyone answer this one too, but just what got you excited to work with customers every single day?
Yeah, so this will be my plug for Flockshare itself. So Flockshare, just for everyone who is not aware, helps underrepresented communities and non-traditional backgrounds break into tech sales. So something, being a minority myself, broke into tech sales, just stumbled upon it. It really changed my life. And so being able to not only to interact with our students and our wonderful hiring partners from the sales side of things, managing the relationship and understanding how I can help our students find safe homes and maintain that mentorship and alignment with our customers post-sale was something that drew my attention immediately. So I would say not only was it the mission, but throughout my entire career, I have prided myself on not only creating obviously a nice sales experience, but post-sale creating that, again, human-to-human connection where I actually care how my customers are doing post-sale, and now roping in my students themselves just relying greatly. From that, it really just sparked something in me where it's like, okay, being a partnership manager, not only do I have the excitement of signing up new partners and that excitement of like a quota and things of that nature, but also seeing the aftermath and success of people actually landing jobs with our partners and managing those relationships is something that, again, excited me to my core.
Yeah, absolutely. Sarah, Studi, do one of you guys want to hop in and share a little bit more about what gets you excited about customer success?
I can go. So, I mean, so I sort of stumbled into customer success, to be honest with you. It wasn't even a thing when I first got into it. Everyone sort of described the problem, which was customers are bleeding and we need a way to to solve it. And it wasn't a role that was traditionally called customer success. I still feel companies have been doing it for a long time. It just
Yeah.
became much more of a thing. And so what I love about it is I love growing, and I love the fact that actually customer success, as I said, in an organization, it's whatever it takes to make a customer successful. It could be traditional customer success, it could be professional services, it could be education, whatever it is. And what I like about it is the strategizing. As the company evolves, that strategy changes. As customers, you go to different segments, your strategy changes. So the ever evolving strategy of keeping the customer in mind at the entire time is really what excites me. And I constantly learn from forums like this and people like yourselves on what everyone is doing and bringing that back in.
Absolutely. Love that. Sarah, what do you have to add?
Yeah, no, and I think that strategy is definitely one of my favorite parts of customer success because it's a bit farther down from sales, right? You're not just trying to like get them across the finish line. You're trying to keep that relationship growing. And you sometimes have to be like a bit scrappy and like try things outside of the box and really keep things working for you as a company too. So you're looking at like the data, which I always love to try to make people successful long term. But also I think I found a lot of joy in it at my company because right now, I think with all of the current events, we really work to put people to work. So when our customers are successful, our community is successful, and I really like being able to benefit those people and help people find jobs and like stable income. And I think that has been a huge part of it for me as well.
Yeah, all great answers. I love that each of you brings a little bit of a different lens to customer success too, and kind of whatever you call it, customer experience, customer relationship management, right? It all is the same thing. It's about retaining customers, making sure they have an amazing experience, and really growing the business too, because customers are really one of the number one referrals, right? Lifebloods of making sure that people really sign on with your organization. I'd love to hear a little bit, I guess, before we dive into specifics of, I think, Studi, you mentioned that it's a little bit different at each organization, right? would you guys be willing to share maybe what makes, well, your current organization or your current role, what's unique, but also what's been the same across your roles at different organizations in terms of customer success? And if you want a second to think, Studi, because I know I just threw it to you.
No, I actually, it's top of mind because I will say, I think the assumption that customers actually know exactly what they want to do and can just take a product and run with it, that the fact that that's not true is probably the underlying state, truth in every job I've been. And so having a customer success team, to your point, it's not just about, onboarding and training, but it's actually being more prescriptive in what you do and providing a program to make customers really understand what they're trying to get out of the product. That's the truth, because you can go to the most established industries, right? Like, something like a HubSpot or marketing tool that everyone's been using, to something completely new like immersive labs, where online cyber learning is not necessarily something everyone's doing. The reality becomes everyone is looking to you as the customer success, as your advocate, to help them define that program and really work with them throughout that relationship, not just the 30-90 days, not just the renewal stages, but truly throughout.
Yeah, great points. Sarah, Jason, what do you guys have to add?
Yeah, I think like at the company, you are the advocate for the customer. So your role really is you have to look at it like holistically, not just like what they think benefits them, but like look at your product and figure out how you can improve it over time and make it work for them in a way that works for your company as well. So it is a bit of a puzzle.
Yeah, definitely. Jason, anything?
Yeah, I just big plus one on Sudi, the underlying truth as far as like not assuming that people can just take a product and run with it. Making sure that there is alignment from sales to the CS handoff is extremely crucial, and something that can make or break the actual revenue generating model, in the sense of, hey, sales is overpromised, CS is now on a hold because they have to deliver on an overpromise, and they don't know how to make sure that they can kind of bring to fruition the stage or scenario that sales is oversold. So making sure that the product lands in the right way, the expectations are set correctly, is definitely an underlying truth to ensure that your client and customer can successfully use the product that they were just initially sold, for sure.
Love that you just brought that up. You must have read my mind, because I was going to take it a little bit to how CS partners with other organizations. I guess for me, and maybe Jason, sounds like we've had a little bit of a similar experience coming from sales and really finding our niche within customer experience and customer success. For you guys, how do you work with sales and other departments in your organization? What does that look like? And really, what does it mean for success for your role, whether it's a customer handoff or really creating that long-term success for a client? And I'll let whoever wants to jump in. I feel like I keep telling you guys who to talk. So
I can start. So as I said, because customer success wasn't really defined, and I still think even now, I feel like it falls into a lot of different umbrellas, and that's always I'm not saying I advocate where it really fits, but right now in my organization, we come under the CRO umbrella, which I think has been the best relationship we've had with sales from an alignment perspective. And there's a lot of processes, and everyone will talk about what you do from getting involved in pre-sales to handoffs and all of that. But I really think having that same umbrella where you guys are, that helps avoid a lot of the friction. That's one point I will say that has resonated. I'm not saying it will resonate for everybody, but definitely has been something that's been positive for this role.
absolutely. Great points. Sarah, Jason, what do you guys want to pop in with?
I would just, again, big plus one. We're just dropping gems here, like the alignment of like that one team, one dream type of deal. Because we've already seen that revolution where sales and marketing are coming to that verge, and just looping in customer success for that post-sale aspect to make sure the messaging is consistent across only creates a better experience, which also generates more revenue. Although it's not always focused on revenue, I guess the real metric there is the success of the said customer itself. Because again, no matter which way you spin it, everyone is trying to make sure that customers are not falling at the bottom of the bucket. We all learn about cost of acquisition, and we also all learn about churn. in various departments themselves. So if we all are aligned on the same KPIs to make sure sales is setting the right expectations, marketing is making sure that the messaging is consistent throughout the process, and then customer success is there to make sure that, again, everything comes to fruition as like the wizard of it all is spot on.
Exactly. Well-oiled machine is super important. Sarah, anything that you want to chime in with?
Yeah, I think that exactly what Jason said, because you really need to be that nexus point between sales and marketing, and you want to make sure you're giving a consistent message, even though it's going to be presented in different ways to different audiences, right? But you and like the success team and the support team really have that pulse on how your customers and your users are feeling and how they're utilizing your service, and you can give that insight to the other teams to help them create a better product.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. I really think that, those relationships internally make more, just impact on the external relationships than we have than we really realize. Customers can feel when, things are well oiled and everyone's working together as a team versus, that kind of strict handoff where it's like, okay, I'm done with you now, you're on to this, right? So we really do love creating a very holistic experience. I think each of my organizations I've seen it done differently. And here at Goldcast, I really love the fact that like even when one of my clients reaches out to an original, account executive who brought them into the organization, I'm so happy, right? Because it means that they had that relationship and they feel comfortable doing that. So always happy to see that. I'd love to turn the conversation a little bit to just relationships with clients in general, if you guys are okay with that. How do you guys keep in contact with your clients? I think the past year and a half, obviously, some of us have moved to remote work. Some of us have always been remote. What does your day-to-day look like? And maybe we can start with Sarah on this one, just of how do you reach out to clients? How do you keep a cadence? And what's your favorite way to maybe make them feel special?
Yeah, I think remote work has definitely changed the game a bit. And I think it's also changed since so many people have gone remote and evolved over time. I think it was a bit more awkward at first, but I think the whole video conference has become much more casual. And the ability to do that has made video conferences like much more accessible to people as well, right? So with my customers that I meet with, I always do prefer to do a video call. And I know there's definitely like video fatigue, but I think it's definitely important to show your face. And I think that makes a huge difference. We work with a range of clients at like lower levels and higher corporate levels, so we are working with people from warehouses to executives. So you kind of want to keep a casual cadence with some of those, which I think the video call really does help establish that. But, you don't always have like technologically literate clients. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with a phone call or an email as well. But I think it's really important to gauge how your customer wants to be communicated with and like what expectations they have, and just like setting those expectations from the outset.
Love all those points. Yeah, I feel like that intro email, asking, do you want to be called? Do you want to be texted? Do you want to be messaged? Like, what's their preference? Because that's how you know you're going to get a response. Jason, Studi, what do you guys want to add in on how you talk to your clients day to day?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is making sure that everyone knows that I'm a human and I know that they're human as well. So Sarah alluded to, first off, understanding the best line of communication, and then only adding value and checking in when I know it would be helpful to them, because everyone has outside daily responsibilities of using my product or service. And I'm extremely aware of that, because obviously being on the other side of things or getting an email from a CS, it's like, hey, here's this new update. And if that update's not applicable to me, I don't really care. But if you make it tailored to me in the same way that I would make a tailored outbound message to make sure that, hey, Jason, there's a new update, here's how your team could potentially use it in your use case, is going far above than a typical like automated email that goes out for a product update. And then secondly, a big thing for me, especially in the transition of the virtual world, is connecting with my clients on LinkedIn, because there becomes some type of relationship and also accountability, making sure that person is successful, because you now have that person on what I'll call a professional social media network, right? So they have the ability to comment, they have the ability to DM you, they have the ability to get instant access to you, I should say. So if you're not on top of your P's and Q's and making sure that they're okay, you best believe that they will hit you up in their inbox if they aren't getting the type of communication that they need. So that's just my 2 tidbits there.
Yeah, that's a great point. I haven't thought about it like that. So, Studi, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny because in some ways, like other than the initial hiccup when everyone's trying to figure out what this remote thing is and what they're doing with their lives, but I feel like the whole remote aspect has actually made being in touch with your customers a little bit easier, because you're not having to worry about in-person meetings and how the logistics of that. And even if you're asking them for an hour, if you're doing it in person, that's like 30 minutes on both sides of it for them to have an in-person meeting. So I feel like the accessibility in some ways is easier, and like what Sarah said, it's comfortable. Like, people aren't having to like think about what am I going to wear, dress up, and all of that. It's just more accessible. So there's definitely an aspect to that. And the second part I really think is, and since we're talking about long-term relationships, it's that every CSM needs to just provide that human aspect of who they are, which really connects, especially right now, right? Where you're okay to reschedule at the last minute because someone's sick, a kid is sick, or it happens to be a something or the other. So that human aspect really matters, and I've seen that translate when we hire some CSMs, and they actually have customers who follow them, who say like, listen, I saw this person moved from this company to this company. I really want them to be our CSM going forward. I mean, and that's probably the best validation to what we do as a as a team, and that's powerful.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I love what you said about the fact that, in this digital day and age, really working from home has created time for more customer management. I feel like I have more time during the day, honestly. And while I think that face-to-face is really important for key moments in a customer journey, maybe it might not be so much with others, right? And the fact I can do more touches during the day or send more emails or make more phone calls, it's really nice. And I feel like I have that flexibility too. And I think we can all agree it's a little bit easier to live our lives too remote sometimes, talk about a sick kid or, taking your pet to the vet or whatever it is. It's really nice to have that flexibility, and internally and externally, I think there's a lot of respect for that. So, and, like Jason said, yeah, we're all humans. We all get it. So I guess part of that human journey too, I keep looking at my notes off to the side, make sure I'm hitting everything, is really we manage conflict in our roles. We resolve problems, we set expectations, and we really make sure our customers are having a great experience. So definitely want everyone's input on this one, but how do you guys manage issues or conflicts that come up? What do you think is important for resolving, those kind of issues that customers face day to day? And whoever wants to take it, pop in.
Yeah, I'll hop in. I have this is both for sales and I'll say post sale for conflict, any resolution. It's called the Triple H. Any WDU fans out there? But it's humility, honesty, and hope. So obviously, leading with humility, that comes into the human interaction, making sure that you understand that, hey, if your team messed up, if you specifically messed up, if there was a misalignment in the expectation setting, that you can really approach the conversation with a full heart and sincerity and saying, hey, I am sorry about this. I don't know what happened here, but I'm doing everything to rectify it. And that's where the honest piece comes into play. If you cannot rectify it, you have to be very upfront about what you can and cannot do. There's no reason to continue to overpromise. There's no reason to set expectations higher than they need to be. You need to be willing to stand on your 2 feet, realign, make sure that both teams, your side and theirs, are honest with each other about what the next step is to make sure everything is okay and how we progress. And then hope. That's, again, aligned to the honest piece. Once you have that established mutual game plan, understanding what the success criteria is, it's really instilling in your customer that, hey, I know that we messed up. I know that this is probably not the best experience, but I need you to have all the confidence in me and hope in me that we can get to the point that we initially discussed and agreed upon itself.
Yeah.
And for those who want to enter the quote contest, that's a great quote from Jason: humility, honesty, and hope. I really like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, very, very true. Honestly, I feel like I have a lot of humility day to day, so I totally agree with that. Stevie, what do you have to add?
Yeah, in some ways, I know this is going to be a little counterintuitive, but in some ways, it's the conflict that actually, it's the resolution of conflict that really builds that trust with that customer. A lot of people get worried about it, and like, oh my God, we're having this a big escalation. And what I tell my team is like, in escalation, the only place to go is up, right? I mean, I can't even think of a single instance where a CSM has made the situation worse, right? And if you take a lot of the principles that Jason just mentioned, which is really owning up, all people want to know is they've been heard. They're not being like they can trust you. They're not being lied to or sold a bag of, uh, and that you have a game plan. That's it. It's all about the communication. And I think the moment you do that, and you do that successfully, that conflict is actually going to become the most like the glue of your relationship going forward, because they'll come back to you because they trust you if there's any issues.
Yeah, so true. Sarah?
Yeah, I think what Stu just said is exactly what I talk about with my team all the time is people really do just want to be heard. And when people are having trouble or issues, like just listening and gathering all of their thoughts and feelings before you reply and making sure you're giving like actionable feedback or solutions to them so that they can have confidence in you moving forward goes such a long way. And just giving them that, channel to like voice all of their feelings and really understand their problem areas and what you can do to make it better. But I think too, like conflict always is very educational, and you can definitely learn from it moving forward. And I think whenever I talk about conflict, because sometimes it comes from oversold expectations, and I do often have a conversation that like there is nothing easier than a no. Like if you're going to be selling something that you are not able to provide, a no is a very easy answer, and it really just like sets the stage for correct expectations moving forward.
Absolutely. I feel like what I've learned over the years is really customer success and customer relationship management is honestly about transparency. And also, if you do mess up or someone messes up, being completely honest about it and just saying, hey, we made a mistake. I thought you understood one thing. I meant this other thing. I apologize, right? I think I'm sorry goes a long way in this, day and age, and a genuine apology really sets the stage for moving forward. And kind of like Jason said, right, your repeated actions and building up that trust with the customer honestly turns out even better than it was before. So very much agree on those. I did take a peek at the Q&As from the audience, and I think there's one that is really great and kind of translates into this conversation, but it comes from Robert, and he's asking about what tools do you guys provide your CSMs predictability to avoid reactive engagement? So how do you help enable your teams really to avoid those reactive situations and also reinforce value outcomes, make sure those conversations are productive? I can give you guys a second to think, and whoever wants to kick it off.
I mean, my suggestion is I feel like people jump to tools first, and I would say don't worry about the tool. Like get a process and a methodology that works, and the tool will come later. And a lot of the biggest advice, and we're going through this transition right now, is health metrics. Like, I mean, all of us have some sort of a health metric that helps us be more proactive with our customers. And the big advice over there is like, don't get complacent with those health metrics, right? The moment you set them, so in all honesty, they're stale, right? And you want to be learning from that and keeping that fresh. And that's, in my opinion, is probably the biggest health metrics and what we call like red flags, right? Like when do you raise up your hand and say you're okay? Both of those, really defining those, but also keeping on learning and iterating on that is really what is the best way to avoid a reactive situation. I will say there's never going to be, you will never have reactive situations, but it's the best way to mitigate them is the way. And then on that note, though, in order for CSMs to feel comfortable to do the first two, which I just mentioned, as a leader, we have to set that environment where it's okay. It's okay to raise the flag. It's okay to escalate. It's okay to, voice your thing, which might not always lead to a fire, but they have to feel safe to be able to do that. And I think that's critically important. After that, once you kind of have it figured out, there are tons of tools out there that can help you replicate that or scale that.
Yeah. I was going to say, I mean, it's a huge, help also. If you're going to write an email that's a tough one to send or a tough phone call, talk to a colleague ahead of time. Have them read that email. have that, kind of maybe 2-minute vent session or something like that to get your real feelings out, because then you can have that professional approach to it, right? Like you said, we're all humans. We have that kind of ouch moment where someone complains about us or our service or even our product. Like, I love Goldcast. I hate hearing bad things about it, but we know that we have to improve ourselves and obviously improve our products and hear that, true feedback. So I love those. Maybe like if I'm writing an email and I have, my boss look at it or a colleague, you just be like, hey, am I coming across here? Like, if you got this email, how would you take it? So love that. Sarah, Jason, what do you guys have to add about that topic?
Yeah, I think process really does drive the outcome, and you can do a lot of prevention with your process, and nothing is set in stone. I think sometimes we all think we're building something to be the final thing, but it never is. And the way you need to approach things and the way your customers interact with things is going to change as the rest of your company grows too. So you need to modify the process to keep up with that, and really learn from every feedback and every negative or positive interaction and include that in your process, and that will go a very long way.
Absolutely. So true. Jason, any other thoughts?
Yeah, big plus one on the health checks or monitors on the back end, because everyone nowadays has those usage stats. You can see what people have logged in last, how often they're using the product, how many people have signed up, the adoption, so on and so forth. So having those for CS is extremely crucial, but also aligned with sales. Like, I can speak to my time at Drift where literally CS sat next to sales. So if I signed someone and I saw them, or my CS saw them not using the product, it was actually a joint effort to be like, hey, what's going on? How is this not working? So I think that's first and foremost, which anyone needs to be monitored on both sides of the coin. But on top of that is understanding, as Sarah just alluded to, excuse the train in the background, but as Sarah just alluded to, is the actual process itself and understanding where those bumps in the roads and foreseeing where they're going to happen, such as the initial adoption stage, getting the team to actually sign up and make their logins. Maybe 3 months post sale, everyone notices that people aren't or stop using the product or tail off. So maybe you have an email already tailored for that situation itself, but really honing in on those bad experiences, documenting when they happened, and then having proactive, I should say, messaging or outreach for those said moments throughout the process could go a long way for sure.
Yeah. Jason, you just gave me a really great idea for my team. So thank you for that one. Appreciate it. I guess last kind of question, it comes from the audience around customer management, relationships, and then we'll dive a little bit into KPIs and metrics of success. But happy customers, right? How do we take advantage of them in a positive way, right? Like, how do we get case studies or, really make sure that that relationship is advocated for and grown, and can we get testimonials? How do you guys approach that? And do you deal with happy customers any differently than maybe moderate to unhappy customers?
I would say yes, 100%. Obviously, coming from a sales background, happy customers, as you've alluded to before, Sai, is the number one source for referrals, right? So it's like making sure that happy customers stay happy, and anyone who's moderately unhappy or just moderate, we need to make sure that they become happy so we can actually speak to the experience there as well. But engaging with happy customers is probably one of the most fulfilling aspects, because a job well done, it's a job well done throughout the entire process itself, and being able to hone in on that, not so much from an ask, but hey, can you really brag about your experience for me? Because not only would it help me in my career, but would also help other people have that same shared experience if you think it's worth your while type of deal. But I really think just having them be that microphone externally is really the key, and making sure that they feel comfortable and supported enough to do so with messaging and so on and so forth. So it's not too much of a heavy lift. But all in all, to say happy customers are obviously the best customers. And from a sales and success, that means less attrition, no churn, and obviously account management and upsell moving forward.
Beautiful. Sarah, Studi, what do you guys have to add?
I think that really links to with what Jason was saying earlier about using your, LinkedIn to connect with your customer base as well, because that's something that can continue with the way that they interact about your company to the public. And that's definitely a tool in your arsenal for getting that positive feedback out there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I echo both what Sarah and Jason said. I think from a management perspective, one thing I will say is always have a passive way as well, right? You don't always want your testimonial or case study asked to be coming from a CSM, because in some ways you're kind of using your favor credits. So I'm very big about making sure if it's a happy customer, you get a really positive NPS for for the email to come from myself, like VP of Customer Success thing, we really appreciate it and everything. It just helps set the stage so that when the CSM or somebody asks, they are getting like love from multiple sides. And the other aspect, which is really like small. I'm not going to say it has a massive success rate, but it's a really good way is whenever you're doing an outreach for an NPS, for example, when you have a positive NPS, just put a link to your Gartner peer review or G2 review. Just put a link there, because if they're happy, they're more likely to hop on and do that for you. So again, everything these guys said, but also try to have another passive strategy along with that is helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so happy I'm moderating this because you guys are giving me like 1,000 ideas to take back to my teams. This is great. Great. Thank you guys for the answers there and for the questions from the audience. We really appreciate those. In terms of KPIs, I know this is a kind of a big topic in the CS world, figuring out how we really brought it up earlier, right? Measure health, measure happiness for clients, and really reduce that churn risk. So would you guys mind going around, Sudhi, we'll start with you, just sharing the company KPIs that you guys are currently measuring on, anything that you guys are focusing on maybe, or made changes recently, or just kind of sharing how you guys focus on those.
Yeah. So just in general, I tend to be very data driven, and metrics are very important. Now, they're not the only thing, but you do have to have like a guiding star. And for me, I bucket into 3 areas, right? So for me, first has to be some sort of a financial, the key SaaS metrics that you think of, like, so NRR and GRR till now are really what grounds my team, regardless of which organization you're in, right? If you're professional services, NRR is probably much more effective. If you're a pure CS organization, GRR is probably more aligned. That said, both of those really impact across my organization. The second, again, much more with SaaS, but I think the variation can be regardless, is usage. And try to get creative outside the usual usage of MAU and DAU. I would say usage is really, really important to have and establish for your customers. And then the last one is sentiment, right? Which is whether it's NPS, whether it's a human CSM sentiment. But I think the combination of these 3 is what makes a CS organization like really powerful. And there could be lots of different things within these 3 buckets, but these are the buckets that I really look at and I'm passionate about.
Love that. Sarah, what about you?
Yeah, I think those are kind of the key 3 ones. I think every company does them in different ways. You really do want to look at how they are utilizing your platform, and you want to track those key things that indicate what their behavior is going to be moving forward or what it's going to flag. And then feedback is always extremely important to track. And you want to keep a look at that. And like an NPS is a great, easy thing to just set up and get going. And that can just get you started if you don't have something in place for feedback. And in terms of like money and financial, you always do want to keep an eye on that. And that can indicate so many other things down the line. And spreadsheets are your best friend. I love a good spreadsheet. If you don't have like built in your system a way to track all the data or the back end or the usage from just a financial report, you can really extrapolate a lot of information that you can use and track and present to different departments and help get things done and really prove value and prove concept.
That's so true. The proof, right? It's always in the numbers. No matter how you think you feel as a CSM, you can have the best relationship, and they put in that 1 as an NPS, and you're like, wait, oh no, I thought we were doing great.
It's a lot different than actual, right? Everybody sees potential, but you need to look at what's actually happening. And the proof's in the pudding.
Great advice. Jason, what about you?
Yeah, I just echo everything that's been said. I think the NPS is massive for me. Not being in the trenches like Sudhi and Sarah, I don't have I couldn't give you the full data-backed answer as I wish I could. But in all seriousness, the NPS is something that as a North Star that we use internally. And then on top of that, LTV, making sure that the lifetime value of the customer is continuously on an upward trajectory is also massive. Because again, relating everywhere that's across multiple teams is something that has been a guiding North Star in multiple companies I've been at as well.
Beautiful. Great question from the audience. Perfect timing on this one. So within those, once you kind of figure out for each customer where they're really lying on those KPIs, how they're doing, are you guys segmenting into like high, medium, low touch? How do you go about reaching out based on that? Is that even something you're doing, or do you just kind of, treat all the customers the same? What do you guys do? And Jason, you want to start with you? I think you have
Yeah.
gone first for a while.
Sorry, can you repeat it for me? Sorry, apologies.
Yeah. Oh, no, you're fine. I may have spoke too quickly. Basically, like once you figure out where those customers are lying within the KPIs and kind of what their health is like, are you segmenting your customers on like high, medium, low touch outreach? And then also, how do you really maintain those levels of personalization and advocacies under that model?
For sure. No, that's actually a phenomenal question. I think mostly what we do internally is aligning with our ICP. So making sure that the people who are greatly aligned with our ICP are treated as premier, and then kind of subset from there. Not to say that anyone is not going to be a priority if and when something goes wrong, but it's more so saying, hey, we know this is a phenomenal fit. We need to make sure that we deliver on that phenomenal fit, because that's the backbone and success of our business. When it comes down to the gray areas of there's a misalignment, we have those understandings that this may be a smaller team, this may be a little bit more of a hurdle than a different larger enterprise company. So how do we make sure that we cater to those specific needs on a given time frame or time schedule for that customer specifically? And then lastly, as far as segmentation goes, from the top of the funnel all the way through, we have those kind of indicators and trackers to make sure, okay, if this does fall outside of our ICP, what are we doing to make sure that, again, those predetermined hurdles how are they going to be rectified before they even actually happen, type of deal, just to have that, again, process in place.
Great answer there. Studi, Sarah, anything you guys want to pop in and add to that?
I mean, segmentation is really important, and there's different companies do different. I won't advocate what you should do. I think you should, because not only it does help define where your resources and everything are going to be doing, but again, going back to the metrics and what Sarah said about like spreadsheets, like you want to be able to slice and dice your data in different ways to see where things are being effective or not, and it really does, like I said, go back to when I'm looking at forecasting and what is my plans going to be for the next 18 months. That kind of a model based on segmentation is crucial. Otherwise, you're sort of just winging it, I would say.
Absolutely. Totally agree there. Sarah?
Yeah, I think like going back to Jason too, like your ideal customer profile it's really important to have, because you want to know how you value your client. And again, like with the potential versus actual from your sales team, as things come down the funnel, they may be seeing a lot of potential, but you need to make sure you're tracking that actual. And with your ICP, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to that and like monitoring and adjusting that over time and seeing if the data is backing up what you're anticipating, right? Because as people utilize your platform, it might be different, or they might not actually be fitting into that profile the same way that you think that they were from the start. So you want to monitor and adjust and like change your value of clients over time, because that it can change. Things can change all the time.
Yeah, so true. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I feel like clients really can flow through that cycle very quickly. And a lot of that does depend on just the sentiment, maybe from one conversation or one experience with a product. I know with Goldcast, this is an event hosting platform, right? One customer could have had 10 amazing events, and something does go wrong on that 11th event. That customer relationship can change a little bit, and maybe we'll, outreach in a different way post that event than we would normally, right? So these audience members keep asking amazing questions. Thank you, Robert, for that last one. Another one that just came in, and I think it kind of goes along with this, kind of no matter what cadence they're really in, or maybe what segment the customer falls in, how frequently are you guys connecting with your clients? And, when does that change, if ever? Maybe we can start with Sarah.
Yeah, so I think with communications in general, you always have like your baseline and transactional. And I'm not sure about other teams, but our success team does have a lot of play into like the marketing and those transactional communications, because we really do have that feel on the pulse. So you want to make sure that those are like truly benefiting the client. You don't just want to be like spray and playing people with like information. You really want to make sure you're hitting on the information that they need, and that everybody is getting that same baseline. And then again, going back to that value based off of how you have valued that client is how you are going to like change and upscale your manual intervention and communications and outreach. Like, I guess like for more like an example, like we in the staffing industry, things change, and we have very short turnarounds and timelines and a lot of changes, right? So when we look at the information that we send out, we really do want to do a lot of it at the last minute. So we have our pre-outreach that is much before to set the stage, but then with that pertinent information, you want to keep it towards the last minute. So you want to think about that timeline of your information and when it's most relevant to them as well. Yes.
Excellent answer. Jason, Studi, when you guys want to pop in with any other input?
I think there needs to be some baseline, right? Like, what is the minimum? And then you're going to have, like, actually you're going to have those customers that are going to reach out to you more often than the others, and the ones that are quiet. And both of them you have to balance, right? Because the needy ones, like the squeaky wheel always gets the oil, right? That's true. And you got to balance that. But I personally think the ones that get too quiet is a major risk indicator for me. In CS world, no news is good news does not apply. No news means something is off. So I think maintaining that, but kind of having that baseline and making sure, again, going back to the health metrics, that at least from a baseline perspective, you're able to monitor and know when things go off the rails. Otherwise, it's really just being there and setting the right expectations for your customers.
Love that. So true. Jason, anything from your side?
Yeah, another big plus one is you obviously have that baseline that's standard for every single customer across the board, but varying based on the customer's specific needs. Again, and that even ties into the actual segmentation of things, because smaller companies are going to need different things than bigger companies throughout the entire, even different verticals, however you want to segment. There are different times to check in with different types of people, different titles, different industries. And then just alluding to like the initial human to human interaction, I think a big piece is the LinkedIn aspect, is making sure that there is like this kind of non-work check-in, if you will, either a like or a comment on their company page or their specific engagement, just to kind of foster that relationship. So when you do hop on the phone, maybe after a month or so, it's not so much of that, hey, awkward, how are things going? It's like, hey, I saw you were doing this. That's really cool. Here's how we might be able to help from our side of things, type of deal. So keeping that, again, human to human connection will really help foster that initial cadence outside of the initial baseline that you would need to create that relationship.
No, great advice. Love all that. This next one, Sarah, I see that you put your name next to this one on my little Google sheet. So let's talk a little bit about customer support in relationship to customer success, and specifically really given that customer support is the other customer facing team, how do we really align the company KPIs with customer support? Are you guys working closely with those? What input do you have around that? Because I know we work so closely with support here at Goldcast, and it really, it impacts the customer.
Yeah, so support really is like, they are the base of the company. Everybody eventually does go to them, and you want to make sure you are giving them their tools and the information that they need to be successful as well, because they don't always have that louder voice that they need to get access to that information, right? They also do have the true pulse on how people are feeling or about the platform, or if there are troubles that they're seeing commonly, like they know all of that information. And so I really do lean on my support team because of that pulse. And with them, and also with sales, it's so important to align your messaging and making sure you're sending that consistent message. And it might be in a different way to who they're speaking to, but you want to make sure you're still covering what the company wants to present and like what the company needs to benefit from with the way that they're communicating. And I think with support in general, like just giving them ownership goes a long way. If you're working on a project that is going to impact them, make sure you get their buy-in, because it is so valuable, and letting them take ownership of that communication and voice further down the funnel is going to benefit the company as a whole.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Support, yeah. I mean, when you want them there and bought in and really like understanding the mission and the guidance, and having that streamlined message to a customer, especially in times where things are failing. So totally agree. Studi, what do you have to add there around support and our relationship with them?
I mean, support is such a crucial part of like the post-sales organization, right? I mean, if you think of a lot of our companies where the CSM is at best going to be talking to the managers or the project leads and everything. Support talks to the end user, right? They're the front line. They're the ones who are are really tackling literally on a day-to-day basis. And so making sure not just the customer side, but like internally, the enablement, the messaging, all of that is so tied to the hip with the entire CS organization. And when that doesn't happen, actually customers feel it, right? Customers will feel it, and you'll start seeing the escalations to a CSM saying, "Hey, support is telling us this, but you told me this," which is not the best uh, experience that you want. And on the same front that I was talking about, the silence, right? Like it could be people get busy over areas and CSMs might feel it, but when support is feeling the silence from customers, like that's a major flag to have. So yeah, I mean, I think support CS actually are very much the same, different sides of the same coin.
Could not agree more. Yeah, like two hands of the same body or whatever. I don't know the saying.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Cringy.
I suck
Know
at
that. Bad
analogies.
try. Jason, what do you have to add?
In my experience, CS and CS, but customer success and customer support are the rock stars and lifeblood of the customers themselves and the company itself. And I think just going back to like the happy customers, and we talked about rectifying like negative situations, customer support is that front line where that getting a response in a minute or two or less is going to set the tone for the rest of that experience to rectify those type of situations, and to be able to align greatly from messaging from a customer success standpoint is also extremely important, because it's like, hey, I got this answer in 2 minutes. If you're still having a problem, I can escalate this, but hopefully this does help. And making sure that, again, customer success is aware of what support is saying throughout the entire cycle is extremely important. And then again, as Studi talked about, is that NPS afterwards, for someone to be able to say customer support got back to me in 2 minutes, fixed my problem, that just creates a phenomenal experience and also a growth opportunity for not only the internal team, but also external facing messaging as well.
Absolutely. For all you guys, you all spoke about aligning and just the fact that, support is so integral and the rock stars for us, which I 100% agree with. How are you guys keeping communication open? Do you guys have weekly stand-ups with support and marketing and CS kind of all together in sales? Do you guys have Slack channels, emails? What do you guys do each in your organization? Start with Studi. You want to kick that one off?
Slack. We're a completely Slack company, to the point where I think at some points it could be detrimental. But yes, Slack, and
No.
and again, going back to that joint session. So whenever we have enablement, product enablement, well, it's not just one team. Try to bring CS support, actually pre-sales, professional services all together, because like I said, like we're all like part of the same vein, and it's really just important to stay aligned, especially around, if support is seeing issues, raising them so that there's awareness, right? So it's cross-functional, but I would say Slack and combined enablement is huge.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Yeah. Slack. I mean, I love the fact we can send like the gifts and make it fun, right? And react to each other. And we have a channel where we just share kind of random information with each other too. And, personal, trying to get to know each other better. So totally agree. All Slack all the way. Love it.
And it's instant, right? And
Yeah.
like especially when you're like at home and you kind of feel like you want to be supported, Slack is a really good way to just like put it out there and someone will get back to you regardless. And so it's actually very, very feels very supportive.
Yeah, Slack should be sponsoring this conversation right now.
I know, right?
Sarah, Jason, anything besides Slack that you guys do, or is Slack, kind of the number one out here?
Our team also does like try to dip into our support team's channels, so that we can identify with what they're seeing and we can fully understand. So when we are working on educational content or working on the communications that we're going to send out, we know that it is like aligning with what our support team is seeing. And I think it also goes a long way with how our support team feels about us, because they know that we are happy to go into the weeds with them if they need it. And so we can fully like understand the problem from the ground up.
Absolutely. Great advice. Yeah. Our customer relationship management system that we have integrates like Zendesk tickets and Jira tickets. So if our customers are putting in items that, maybe they didn't reach out to us directly about, we still have that vision. And it really does power what you understand about your customers. Jason, last but not least, and then we have one final question before the end of the session.
So yeah, just echoing Slack. In office was different. I was having like sales, marketing, and CS all together creates that kind of like instant communication that Slack is now supplemented. But for CS to be able to turn around and be like, hey Jay, your account is like had an issue with this, let's work on it together, is a big value add. To make sure that they're not separated on different floors or across the hall type of deal is also big, but different in the virtual world for sure.
Yeah, great answer. So true. So I guess, we have about 5 minutes left in the conversation. Was thinking about the best way to cap this off, right? And I think I'd love to hear from each of you just about in the next 12 months, if you had a goal or a vision or a hope for not only your team, in customer success, but also your customers, and where you really just want to see movement and progression and kind of anything, honestly. I'm going to leave it open-ended for you guys, but if you're working towards a specific, goal, kind of what are you guys hoping to achieve? And, if we had this conversation again in a year, what does it look like and what happened over that past year? So I'll give you guys 1 second to think about it, because I know that's a huge question and you're probably like, oh no, Sai, don't do that question. But when you're ready, Studi, why don't you kick us off? I'll throw it to you.
All right. It is a heavy question, but I think I'll cap it off with the theme of this conference, right? Like, I do think some people are better apt at creating those relationships, maintaining those long-term relationships. And one thing I'd love to do is take that knowledge and scale it across the teams, right? So whether it's global, whether you're doing the different segments, a high touch, low touch, but the essence is, or my where I want to strive is, all my customers should feel the same level of support, advocacy, accessibility. However we do it behind the scenes is different, and so that would be really important. Is how do we take some of those knowledge and learnings that work and scale them throughout the organization?
Love it. Sarah, do you have yours?
Yeah, I think that at a startup, there's always a lot of growth and a lot of projects swirling around in the background, and it's always moving forward so drastically. But I think, like, if I wanted to kind of sum it all up, I'd love to give our team more time, right? So everything is kind of pushing so that we have more bandwidth to focus on meaningful interactions and meaningful conversations, and really putting the impact in our voice where it matters. And so that we can really pay attention to our customers in a like holistic, controlled way.
Love that. Jason?
Yeah, I think for me, just being in the position I am with Flockshare, just helping underrepresented communities and not just background to break into tech sales, understanding that we want them to land well at our hiring partners, and making sure that our hiring partners have hired some diverse rock stars is something that, like, post-sale, that we would love to see. Specifically me, again, like, just making sure that there is that open line of communication so that more people behind them, we can pass the ladder back and get more people into those roles, is a big success metric in for the entirety of the Flockj fam. So
Beautiful. Love all those answers. Hopefully we have this conversation again next year, because then we can check in on those goals and, what went right. And I'm sure all those will be achieved, as well as many more. So Justin, I know we're about 2 minutes out. I'm sure everyone in the audience would appreciate at least a 1-minute coffee break. So I just want to thank everyone for this amazing conversation. It was so great talking with all you guys. Like I said earlier, I just got 1,000 ideas. So selfishly, I'm very happy I was here with you guys. So thank you. Justin, is there anything else that we want to share with the audience before we pop off?
Yeah, first of all, great timing on this one. That's like almost exactly to the second. Just wanted to reiterate, huge thank you to Jason, Studi, and Sarah, our panelists. Sai, amazing job moderating. This is really a great opportunity to learn. And to our audience members for really, really good questions and awesome engagement. The session obviously would not have been nearly as good without you guys piping in here and there. Just a couple quick housekeeping things. If you want to stick around, check out some other Startup Boston stuff, just go up to the top of the screen, hit agenda. You'll see all the other events that are going on. And again, during sessions, you can see the other sessions that are happening at the same time. And just to reiterate, if you were paying attention and took down some of your favorite quotes, we have that contest going on. Post your favorite quotes to social media with the hashtag SBW2021. You'll be entered to win one of 5 $100 gift cards to a local Black-owned Boston business. So Really cool stuff. Guys, thank you again so much. And we'll give you an extra 30 seconds to have a coffee, go to the bathroom, whatever you have to do. Take it
Bye,
easy,
guys.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Startup Boston.
Bye.